the show is Full Spectrum Color with Brian Scott. Oh, Vincent Van Dog is not sure what these crazy humans are up to today. He's a little bit nervous, but I think he'll be okay. You okay there, buddy? Yeah, he's good. Okay, we're ready to go. Okay, now my students were interested in painting abstract. So I told them, I said, now go find your favorite artist, okay, your favorite abstract artist, and then we'll take a picture of it, and then we'll blow it up. And then the next thing to do is isolate it with a mat. Now you're going to use that as a jumping off point, okay? Now my favorite artist is Riopelle, who's just a brilliant Quebec artist. He's Canada's most famous abstract artist. Now Riopelle worked in oils because it was back in the 50s and acrylics hadn't been invented. We have a lot of advantages in technology in today's world, and which is using the what's called modeling paste. You can see it up there. There's the modeling paste. Now, what the modeling paste is it's ground up marble dust with acrylic medium. So you can build up your texture on the ground and then work on top of that. Now, normally I don't do these kinds of paintings in acrylics. I do it in oil. So I don't know if you can see the difference between the oils and the acrylics. Now, the reason is the oils are superior because you get the texture, the immediacy of the texture, whereas that takes a year to dry. This dries in 4 days. Huge advantage. Okay, so now a little background on Riopelle. Now Riopelle, a lot of Quebec artists went, and poets, writers, they went to Paris, whereas the Canadian, the Anglais went to London. That's not always true, but by and large, I would say that's true. Now, I'm going to be working with some really different tools today, just to give you an idea. Now, this is really fun to play with. Now, I prefer the metal to the plastic ones because the metal has more oomph to it. So just to give you an idea, so it's quite fun because you need a big palette to do these things. You can get these, you can see these big arches of lines that I'm using here. Boom, boom, boom. And it's quite fun to now, when I do this, you can see how the paint is catching the texture on that. You can just really get carried away with that. See this? Isn't that fun? Now, Riopelle was more of a purist. Like this is done all with palette knife. You notice that? That's all palette knife. Whereas what I'm doing is, I like to build it up quickly with the brush, and then hit it with the palette knife. So you got to have lots of different palette knives. You can see I've got a whole bucket full of them here. So that's a really nice one. I love that one. And what you'll find is you gravitate to a certain kind of tool, your favorites, right? That's my favorite. I love that one. It's kind of a spatula effect. But I will use the brush, and I mix things up. Now, it's interesting in here, I'm getting into what's called impressionist brushstroke, right? Now, that's kind of really breaking the rules. What impressionist brushstroke is the little lozenges of paint. See? Boom, 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 boom. And of course, what do we call that? Texture. So this is one of the keys. Smooth, rough. That's the key to texture. You can see the staccato of the impressionist brushstroke against the flat areas. So I want that flat area. Look at this guy. This is a really fun one, another one of my favorites. So I can get a nice, look at that. So that, another thing too is you want to play with what's called transparent opaque. So when you put the paint on really thick, like that, you see the contrast. See this is what you got to be thinking about when you're doing your art. Always think of the opposite. So what's the opposite? I'm working opaque. There's the transparent opaque. So you get a really nice shift there. And of course, all the things I've been talking about all along, and the thing I'm emphasizing is full spectrum. That's why I use that particular Riopelle image. He doesn't use full spectrum. He's different. Each artist is different. So that's why I isolated an image that all the full spectrum is there. So it has the 3 primaries and the 3 secondaries. Red, yellow, blue primary, orange, purple, green secondaries. So you can see the full spectrum. And you can break the rules. Like I use brush. I mean, you could use your hand if you want to do this. See, look at that. Go in there and you could blend. See, that works. So I'm getting some we call those sliding planes. The paint is moving in. Look at this. Yeah. When mothers bring their kids to my studio, and I say to the kids, now, despite what your mother says, if you want to do this kind of art, you got to make a mess, right? Now, I wanted to show you this hot pink. This is one of my favorite colors here. I don't know if you can see that, but this is a really cold one here. Look at that. Isn't that a beauty? See how that hot cold, right? I love that hot pink. Kind of like a fuchsia. Now, another thing, interesting thing. Now, there's 2 artists that I was thinking of. There's Jack Shadbolt and Sybil Andrews. One of the interesting things they did, which is really important, is what's called isolate and clarify. Now, what Sybil Andrews did, she enclosed the space. She looked for the most interesting parts in the inner picture, and then enclosed that space. Now let's see if see if I want to bring this. I really like this little section here because we got what I just did with. So let's just isolate that. So I'm going to go around and bring that out. So there it is. So that holds true. So I've gone around, and that's pulling that forward. Now, one thing, a really important thing to keep in mind is the difference between the illusion of looking through a window into a scene and abstract art. Abstract art is coming forward on the picture plane. Landscape takes you into. So that's the way to look at art. Is it an illusion of looking through a window, or is it coming out at you? So let's continue on with this. What Shadbolt calls it, he calls it isolate and clarify. So you can see in this section here, see how that I've isolated that, and it's pulling it forward. Same with through here. Isolate and clarify. Remember that one. It's a good one. I remember when I was at the McMichael collection in Kleinburg, there was a Tom Thompson in there, and it was but he used a black ground. You can see how I've used the underpainting is black, and he did these wonderful wildflowers in this thing. And you look up close, and he put a big X through the oil. He didn't like it. He rejected it. Those are some of the most popular paintings that guy did. So I thought that was really interesting. But just a little quick history on the difference between abstract and realism. When I was at art school in the 70s, I was at a party one time, and you see, back in those days, you never crossed the line. You either painted like this, or you did, realism. You never crossed the line. Well, there was these 2 guys. And one of them was an instructor at I won't mention any names, at the old Vancouver School of Art. And these guys were getting into a fight between the abstract expressionist guy over here and this very super anal realistic guy, And I thought, oh my God, these guys really take this stuff seriously. Whereas nowadays, thank goodness, the whole game is wide open. You can move from realism to abstract, and it makes, I've been doing this for 41 years. I'm not going to paint the same way for 41 years. My dog would get bored. We can't let Vinny get bored. Okay, moving on, I digress. Okay, so I like I say, I do use the brush, whatever works for you. Just there's no rules in painting. See, so I can now. Abstract art doesn't have to be difficult because what I'm doing is I'm just following that spectrum, right? You look at Riopelle. See, so you go. I'm going cool yellow. There's the cool yellow. There's warm yellow, right? So there's those 2. Then I'm going to the red. That's kind of a yellow orange, and then into the cool reds. And then what's next? See, cool red. Then purple. There's the purple, right? Purple. that cool blue. Remember I said there's two blues. I use the warm blue, which is the ultramarine blue, and the phthalo blue. And you put those two together, and you get a real, there they are there. And they're fighting for space. That's that color energy coming out. So then in from the cool blue and then into the turquoise. And I always emphasize the turquoise is the coldest color on the spectrum. There it is. Every other color is warm in relation to that one. So it's amazing. Like I was working away and forgot the turquoise. Put the turquoise in, all of a sudden, bam, it starts working. You can see I got it down here. Now you want to kind of distribute things around the thing, and you work the whole thing together as a unit. Don't get, some artists, now that's the way I work, right? Some artists start in the corner and they go across the canvas. Not me. I'm like the orchestra conductor. I'm like Emily Carr. I'm playing with the music. I'm going up and down the scales. You can see the scales of color. Boom. Going across this way. Boom, 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 boom. Spectrum. Full spectrum. I get the hummingbirds out in my backyard coming up to my garden art in the backyard. It's quite funny. Okay, so palette knife. Tools, so palette knife, color, hot, warm color. See, what else have I got on here? Of course, the fall on Vancouver Island is my favorite time of the year. That was the interesting thing about Riopelle. Riopelle goes to Paris. What does he paint? He paints Quebec, because it's all up in his head. It's like me. I'm always going to paint Vancouver Island because it's in here. I'm out walking every day. Vinny and I, we walk all through here in the fall, the colors. So that all percolates into your brain and it comes out in your painting, right? Yeah, you can see it here. See, to me, I relate to this. It looks like frost. I use this thing here to get that. You can see how I've gone boom, boom, boom. It looks like to me like these are maple leaves, the big leaf Vancouver Island maple. You see that, the big, and then the frost just, of course it's very damp here, right? So when it goes cold, you get wonderful hoarfrost on the forms, which really, really brings it out. Now, this is another interesting thing here. See, abstract art is easier to do big than small. I remember reading somewhere, art wasn't important unless it was 19 feet. Oh, that's a bit extreme. But anyway, so what I did was I did a diptych. So what I did, I just added another canvas to make a pair, right? So that's called a diptych. You can use three together. You got to make sure that the transitions move from canvas to canvas, right? So brush, so I used a little bit of impressionist brush stroke here. Now there's two camps. There's what's called formalism, expressionism. So this is the expressionist art. I'm painting my emotions. That's the important thing for me. Now the other thing is doing your research. So I've got all my books out here. I've got my computer screen here. Like I could go online, use the technology. I could go on there right now and hit Riopelle at the National Gallery in Ottawa. Boom. Images of his wonderful paintings would be right on that screen. So don't be afraid to use technology. Why not? It's really a lot of fun. It's just like a window into another world. And anything that you can bring to bear into that art is going to make it more interesting. And you got to be excited about what you're doing. If you're an artist and you're bored with what you're doing, man, you got a problem. So yeah, that's the whole thing. I mean, 41 years of doing this, I have to, I use that phrase. You got to get up on that horse and you got to ride, right? And you got to just let yourself go, and then trust that you can get the horse back in the barn. You're going to hear me use that phrase a lot. And then lots of brushes. So I got big brushes. I've got palette knives. I've got this. I love this guy here, right? But I could use a brush. I mean, that's a cheap and cheerful brush. What'd that cost me? $2 at the dollar store. Look at that. Boom! I can get my opaque. Remember we said smooth and rough. Yeah. See, now here I'm gonna hit that where I went over that with my hand. So if I go opaque, see. And let's get some accent points in here. See, so your eye tends to move from point to point. See, so we want to look at this down in here. So we'll bring your eye, boom, down to here. See that? Just by doing that. Okay, let's do a little, you know. Yeah, these big brushes are, Bob Ross, he's great with this kind of stuff. He's fun. I learned from Bob Ross, I admit it. I've watched his show. The guy with the wig on, right? He uses big brushes, goes in there, boom. Oh, I got a little bit of black in there now, which is graying it down. That's okay. We can go with that. That becomes, see, I got a little bit of black paint mixed in there. So we'll use that as a halftone. But I got to get back to my pure yellow. So I got to get that black out of there. Back, get back. Okay, I think we won that battle. Okay, so we're back. Get him back in there. So brushes, palette knives. Yeah, you got to have lots of tools. Keep them clean, which I'm not always great at doing. See, lots of palette knives. Love Riopel, you know, great. And then, oh yeah, here's another trick too. Here's another trick of the trade. See, what I'll do when I'm painting these is every 45 minutes, I rotate it. See that? So remember I said don't be bored. Don't get bored as an artist. So when you get bored, you just switch it around like that. You can do that with realism too, because you look at it differently. I do that when I'm showing clients when they come in here. I rotate the painting around and I say, oh, what's it doing this way, right? The only way you know which way the painting ended up is where the signature is, right? Isn't that fun? So I would do that with this. I can't lift this up because the whole thing's going to collapse because I kind of got it wedged in here, and the whole set may come collapsing down. So, but I would move it around and work on it that way. So yeah, so you got to, like I say, the Impressionist brushstroke, the little lozenges. Now, use of line. This is what Van Gogh does. I was looking at Van Gogh. The students, we were looking at Van Gogh, and what he does, he doesn't outline with black. He outlines with color. See, isn't that wonderful? So that's what he would do. He would go around, and that would work, you know, to isolate and clarify. Let's see. Well, we don't want to use the blue, but you could isolate and clarify with that blue. That actually works. Look at this. See, I could go around. So I use black, so I could use the blue to isolate and clarify the forms, which even looks interesting. See, it's like, you know, art is a discovery. See, I just. Yeah, so that works really nicely. Look at that. Thank you, Van Gogh. I appreciate that. Yeah, look at that. See, it's an interesting transition because the blue is very strong here, and then it's becoming more fractured up in through here. In the book, in this book here, this is the Bible of color, is that Itten's book. If you do the exercises in there, that's a first-year university color course. It's a 3-month course. You could do that at home. And the three I emphasize are the tints and shades, cool and warm, and the complementaries. If you do those through, you'll be able to do everything that I do, because I'm using. I've already mentioned that yellow, purple. Think of Easter, yellow, purple, Christmas, red, green, and the other one, of course, is the orange and the blue. So anyway, let's get back to now. Oh yeah, what he says in the book, he says when you have a color that's isolated, it becomes like a barking dog. You see how this blue is so dominated by that yellow? It's becoming very active. That's the barking dog effect, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, a good one. Jack Shadbolt said that. And he said that there's very few artists that can articulate what it is artists do. And it's true, because most artists, they're making art, it's an introverted kind of activity. But Shadbolt is one of the few. I remember an artist on CBC was interviewed by CBC, and he said, I have no idea what I was doing. And I thought, that is the wrong thing to say to the public. But the guy was being honest. He said because he worked totally intuitively. He could not articulate on television what the heck it was that he was doing. He knew what he was doing, but he couldn't put it into words. The wrong thing to say. Yeah, so there you go. So yeah, it's I'm very fortunate that I'm able to verbalize about what it is I do. So thick and thin lines, the next show I'll be looking at cross contours are a really important aspect of you know, realism. Whereas with this, that isolate and clarify is a big one. Is if you can isolate, look for your, look at this one up here. This is quite nice. I like this in here. So let's isolate that and bring it out. Boom, boom. See, we can just go around, do the Van Gogh effect with outline with the blue, with the cool color. Go around, and then you can see that coming out now. Yeah. And then the sliding planes, you see, like, see, I've gone from, so I could go from that blue and then shift, I'm going across the spectrum. So I'm going from that cool blue into the, let's get some of, I love that, this guy here. The ultramarine blue is really electric. See, there it is. So we've gone from, we're going up the scale, and now we're into, see, so I'm gone. So just remember that when you're doing these abstract, just if you don't know where to go, just follow the spectrum, right? It's so simple. So if you're working yellow and say, no, where do I go from here? Okay, well, you can go either way. You could go I could go, if I go to the cool end, then I would go green, right? So there I'm going into the green from the yellow, right? So that's following the spectrum. Now, if I want to go the opposite direction, right, then the next one up is this one here. See? And see, now I'm isolating that. Remember, I took my I went like that, right? So I'm going to isolate that. So I'm just going to go around and bring that out. So the next one is this guy over here. Now, it helps to know a little bit about the pigments. And I'll just clue you in onto that. The natural pigments are opaque. So all the cadmiums, if it's cadmium, chromium, if it's the phthalos, they're transparent because they're synthetic pigments. Okay, so this is why it's kind of good to be aware of that. So these cadmiums are going to be opaque. They're going to cover, right? So then I'm going to go into the primary red, which is this guy over here. So there's the next scale. So I can just go boom, boom, boom. See, and it's going to work because it's just like music. Do, re, mi, fa. So you just go up and down the scales. Yeah. Okay, so we're winding down here. Quick summary. So always go on your heart when you're looking at images, you're looking at paintings. The feeling comes from here. Remember this concept of isolating and clarifying. That's a really good one. But don't be afraid to you don't have to play by the rules. I did some impressionist brush stroke. I used a brush. I used a palette knife. So yeah, I'm not afraid to I use I did this, right? I just love doing that. That's fun, right? You can just kind of. Okay, so I hope you got something out of this show. I really had a lot of fun. Vinny still looks a little confused over here. But anyway, thanks again. Brian Scott, Full Spectrum Color.